No?
Chaz is virtual.
Okay.
Okay, we are.
I am here.
We're recording and mic is hot.
We have a quorum. Okay, well, let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I think we you have a quorum. And we'll
Can
go
we
ahead.
verify, Sean, I'm sorry, just to make
Yeah.
sure that Chaz is on the.
Chaz is there.
Excellent, okay. Morning, Chaz.
Good morning, Chaz.
Good morning. Thank you for having me virtually. I do appreciate it.
Betcha. Oh, we definitely have a quorum now, so
And
we're good.
Kenny,
Yes,
Pavon and Kent are both.
and Kent's on. Okay, good. Kent and Pavon. Hello, Kent. Hello, Pavon.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, we got the whole family together, so let's go ahead and call this meeting to order. I think this item is amendments to the agenda. Do you have anything, Dave?
I only have one small amendment, Mr. Chair, under item 16 -1 on our October meeting. As we talked about yesterday at the retreat, that would be at lunch with the GC. That will actually be on Thursday, October 21st,
Okay,
not the 14th.
all right, noted. Anything else? Okay. Well, let's talk about the, everybody have a chance to review the meeting minutes from June 10th, 2021. For a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Anybody say no? Good. Amendments or the minutes are approved for June 10th. Board member reports. Let's start with Kent. Give us some Western Slope info.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sorry not to be able to be there in person with everyone. Appreciated very much the workshop yesterday. Thought it was very informative and very helpful. At Walden 33 Victor, we had our annual meeting recently. A lot of appreciation for the new weather cams at the airport. Really excited about that. That's something that I've been using frequently too. And also want to thank the division and staff for their help with wildlife fencing at the airport. That's something we're likely to implement next summer. They're going to be doing bids for the fence construction. And as you know, we've had a few runway incidents with antelope up there. There's a concern over the runway condition up at 33 Victor, and I think that's something the county is going to be talking to staff about soon if they haven't already initiated those discussions. And again, with the workshop yesterday, I appreciate the discussion on helping small airports that are not FAA airports like 33 Victor. We had a balloon festival recently that was a great success. I know Craig had a nice balloon festival recently too. I'm not terribly familiar with balloon flight, but it was interesting on day one of the event, they release a small balloon to see what the winds were doing. And it's a beautiful, calm morning. And that small balloon drifted straight up into the air and then promptly hit some high level winds and disappeared from sight. So the balloon festival was delayed a day. It was kind of interesting. Glenwood Springs Airport has their airport expo coming up on September 4th. Hope to drop into that if I can make the scheduling work. excited for the continued good reports on West Slope Air Service. The Bustang news is welcome as well. And also want to emphasize, in addition to the economic importance of airports all around the state, the importance for firefighting. And as we have this terrible management debacle in our national forests following the beetle kill and hands-off management these last couple of decades, the importance for firefighting is going to be higher than ever. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, that's a great update. Chaz, anything you'd like to share?
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. I apologize for missing yesterday, but circumstances dictated that I be present during our Board of County Commissioners meetings, and it was quite exciting. So appreciate your leniency for yesterday. My report today is basically yesterday we approved, or we're moving forward with our security fencing around Colorado Air and Spaceport, which is really good news. It's something that I've fought for years, and we're finally getting to the point where we can get that done. Other than that, I don't really have any other updates.
Okay, thank you, Chaz. We managed, I think, without you yesterday, and it was very productive, and we'll fill you in. I'm sure Dave will fill you in on anything that you missed, okay? George.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I'll be pretty brief. First, just picking up on that, I just want to thank the team at the Division of Aeronautics for yesterday. I thought it was incredibly productive and also educational as a new board member. So I really appreciate it. Thanks a lot for all the work that went into that. I want to give some credit to the team at Denver International Airport, the ops team for the second year in a row. Was awarded the Vulcan Post Award for outstanding snow removal. Has a real impact on people getting in and out of the airport, and so really proud of the team for that. And then it's a personal thing a little bit, but we're losing a member at DIA after 30 years. A guy named Mike McKee, who has run our noise office since we were Stapleton Airport. And so the reason I bring him up here is that if you've had a noise meeting in your community around the Denver region, the Front Range region, you have met with Mike McKee, and he's just got a track record of being incredibly thoughtful, incredibly patient, and incredibly well informed. He helped, was really a leader in developing a metroplex in the Denver region that frankly, I don't mind saying, made the FAA a little jealous. And I came in and did an update because of the way that we really led the country in being collaborative here. So after 30 years, teaching me noise, I'm really thankful. I just wanted to say thanks to Mike McKee. And farewell.
Yeah, he's a good man. I can attest to that. He's helped me out when I was at one of the local airports as well, and helped our team out with great information and great resource. So he will be missed, but I'm sure he's groomed some people to take his shoes, I'm sure. So
I hope so.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Yes,
So
he absolutely.
all right, well, thanks, Laird, for the update. Mark.
So I too want to add my thanks for yesterday. I mean, having spent a life sitting in those kind of meetings on a very frequent basis, sometimes wondering why I was there. Yesterday was not that. It was the entire day was very effective and very thoughtfully put together and very useful, I think, for all of us. And so my appreciation for that. And to the staff, because that's not easy to do that. So I have three things that I think are relevant to Colorado Aviation, one local and two kind of on a national basis. First, local, the Captain Jefferson Foundation which is part of Wings of the Rockies, awarded 17 flight scholarships to young folks. These ranged in value from $6,000 to $10,000. So that program continues. There may be another go around that we were talking about as things finish. Life is getting back to normal. From a flight training perspective, of course, flight training is going off the Richter scale. So, but it's great to watch these young folks, and we have a number of awardees that now have both soloed and gotten their certificates. So that program continues, and you can, if you need more information, it's on the Wings Over the Rockies website. Second thing is that I attended Oshkosh this year. I am on the EAA board, so I always go. We missed last year, but it was a fascinating week. Preliminary numbers said that we had 605,000 folks, which the peak was 2019 when we had 643,000 people visit. We think that number is actually going to go up. More than 10,000 airplanes, and for the first time, nobody got turned away. They were able to park, but at any given moment, there were 10,000 visiting airplanes on the field. A number of obviously folks from Colorado and from Colorado manufacturing. There, George Pye and was there with the electric airplane. I don't know if a lot of people know that there's a company in Denver, My Go Flight, which provides supplies, builds and supplies, different kinds of mounts and pilot supplies, but they've also certified a heads-up display for general aviation aircraft, and that was on display. And it's a neat thing, and we ought to have maybe somewhere when we have the exchanges. That would be one to include My Go Flight, because their reach in the industry and the things that they supply is industry leading. So a lot of optimism and a lot of people that were happy to get out. And so, so that was good. And then last week, and as I talked a little bit about yesterday, I attended the General Aviation Manufacturer Association strategic meetings up in Port Ludlow, Washington, and there was participation from some of the other associations. Mark Baker from AOPA was there, and a few of those folks. But the things that were on the agenda that we talked about kind of hit home here as well. One around workforce development and education. The industry as a whole is becoming extremely concerned about being able to attract qualified workers, and there was a lot of discussion about how the industry can participate reaching into high schools and junior and middle schools. And so a great conversation. Of course, we talked about that yesterday. We have opportunity in a role to play in Colorado. And so they talked about, or we talked about leaded fuel and alternative fuel issues, again, very relevant to us, and emissions. And so the requirement on business aviation as well as commercial, and maybe coming someday to general aviation on being carbon neutral and those emissions was important. And there were some conversations about how to measure that, not just buying credits, but truly reducing the output. So that will affect us down the road. And then, as we talked about yesterday, a lot of conversations around electric and hydrogen alternatives, and what does that mean? Most of that obviously was oriented on the manufacturing side, but again, especially for us, is I think this issue about how do we replace fuel tax with an income for us with electric and hydrogen is going to be a very fascinating topic for us going forward. So a little bit longer than that, but
No, that's very thorough. That's great. Excellent. Excellent. I think you've been busy. Trimby.
Yeah, all right. We'll start with pilot organizations. I'm going to start with, of course, the big one, Colorado Pilots Association, work my way from there. Colorado Pilots Association they've been working hard on getting area reps for each airport all around the state. So they've made actually a spreadsheet, and it was Bart Jones made a spreadsheet for all of the contacts for airports around the state so that they have somebody that they can go to, and also that person has somebody that they can come to on the Colorado Pilots Association. There's a backcountry and recreational airstrips group, or a chair there named Garth Fasano, and he's trying to create more social media for that backcountry airstrips, and more socials, getting people to, of course, this relates back to the mountain flying, but letting people know that we have these great backstrip airstrips that we can fly into. Get that going here for next summer.
Yeah, is he connected? Do you know if he's connected to the Recreation Aviation Foundation?
I know, but.
We'll
tell
talk,
me
we'll
later
we'll
and
talk
I'll find
offline,
out
because
for
that's,
sure.
you know, that organization, which does the same thing, is very active in the state.
If that will help them with their efforts, then yes. What else? Let's see, we've also got, speaking of the scholarships, Jeff Hinkle is the chair of the Education Committee for the Colorado Pilots Association, all about the scholarships, talks about your scholarship at the Colorado Pilots Association meetings, women in aviation scholarships, lots of scholarships. And not to get off topic, but Women in Aviation is having a scholarship meeting in September, on September 20th, to talk about all of the Women in Aviation scholarships and the scholarships that you talked about, Mark. All the scholarships that you can apply for in Colorado. Doesn't, no age requirements at all, just whoever's learning to fly. So Jeff Hinkle is that person for scholarships and education for Colorado Pilots Association. Let's see, flight safety. I guess Mike Kachelnik went to Wings Over the Rockies and gave a flight safety presentation. Always something to think about, keep your eyes on. Wings Over the Rockies has great presentations and fly-ins and great things. Chuck Stout's the curator there, and people you should know. Fly-in events, Bob McKinney created a 2021 fly-in booklet for all the fly-ins that they created for the year, and I'm pretty sure they're starting on the 2021 now. And it's much like the beautiful artistic work that our gentleman over here does all the time. They're doing their fly-in event. Great little booklet handout to distribute. Legislative affairs, I'm not really sure. I don't think I have a report on that. And mountain flying, Bill Standifer is the mountain flying expert in Colorado. I'll go ahead and say that. And their mountain flying, let's see, August 28th is booked out, and has been booked out for a while. I'm not sure what the cap was, but it's been booked out for quite some time.
It's great to hear.
And very, very popular. Hoping next year it can be bigger and bigger. And if we can get more mountain flying instructors out there, we can get more people learning how to fly safely in the mountains. And not only to attract Colorado pilots, but pilots from all over surrounding states, Wyoming, Nebraska, Kansas, people who want to come here, not just Colorado. Moving on to I'll just see who I can give a report for here. I do not have a report for Colorado Aviation Business Association, but if anybody here does, please go ahead after I talk. That person would be Chris Swathwood or Mike Straka or anybody else. Throw it out there. Okay. Colorado Aviation Historical Society. This is one that we can't forget about, right? That contact is Lance Barbo, and they're having a banquet on October 9th at the Lakewood Country Club. So if you're interested in attending that, you might want to reach out to Colorado Aviation Historical Society.org and get a ticket for that. They're also having a booth at the Great Colorado Air Show, which is in Fort Collins. So Jason Lycon, I'm sure, is very busy with that, with Miss Deb up there, Deb Montgomery, for October 16th and 17th. So that's the Great Colorado Air Show. Mark that for the Colorado Aviation Historical Society. And let's see, not to forget Colorado Aviation Photographers. This is mainly a social media group, but definitely worth it. If you're not part of that, it's a great way to keep on top of things that are flying around. You can take photos of it, and oh, it's a bird.
That's
Take a
great.
picture.
Yeah.
Great photos, great community. They have great socials that I know of at a fun place. I'm sure you know where that is. Wink, wink. Yeah, that's social media. Colorado, commemorative Air Force, commemorativeairforce.org. Again, this is, I think also Jeff Hinkle's. Jeff Hinkle can give reports on this, but they visit Grand Junction, or they visited Grand Junction. And let's see, that was a B-17 and a B-25 out of an Arizona base. And they're going to be, let's see, that's August 25th through the 29th at the Air Power Tour, Rocky Mountain Metro Airport. That's right now. Is it?
Yeah.
All
Mr.
right.
Chair, if I might, real quick, I tried to follow on to your comment about the Colorado Aviation Historical Society on October 9th. That's their inductee ceremony for the Colorado Aviation Hall of Fame. It's pretty cool to note, former CAP chair, Centennial Airport CEO Robert Obeslackers was inducted into the Colorado Aviation Hall of Fame, and will be recognized as such at that event on October 9th. So I'm looking forward to being there, and hope some of the other folks on the table here.
Great update.
Not done.
Oh,
Yeah, hold on. Still going. Colorado 99s. I don't particularly have a report. I know they do scholarships and they've got some fly-ins and their poker run. I think they do a couple every summer. I haven't been as active as I should be in that, honestly. Let's see, we got Colorado. Yeah, skip that one. We can't forget about the drones. I don't have any drone report like UAS for Colorado. My goal is to get more reports on that. So hold me to it.
Okay.
Okay. Civil Air Patrol is continuing their training and proficiency flying. So always a good source for the young people, EAA and Civil Air Patrol. That contact I have as Jim Jenkins. I'm going to work a little bit more on seeing kind of more of an update for them, aside from what I just said about them trying to get proficiency and training for people. Experimental Aircraft Association, I do not have a report. Seaplane Association, they've had their fly-ins at Kenny and Lake Meredith. Yeah. So awesome. Hopefully next year more fly-ins, more seaplanes. Be great if we could get some Colorado pilots to go away and get their seaplane rating and where Washington and Florida and
We just need more water.
there's a couple
More water to
places
use.
where we can actually win.
More permission.
Ray Hawkins has been very involved in that for years. And Carl Mattson, I'd like to give a shout out to him as well. Let's see, Silver Wings. If you guys all know Bill Totten, I think he used to be president of the Colorado Pilots Association or vice president. So he is Silver Wings. We haven't heard from him in a while. We're trying to get better updates on Silver Wings. I think he's going to be passing that torch on. And Wings Over the Rockies, they are hosting Girls in Aviation Day for Women in Aviation. That's going to be September 25th on a Saturday, 9 to 12. Great speakers. We have an American Airlines pilot named Stacey Banks. We have Jeff Hinkle will be there from Delta, but he's representing Colorado Pilots Association. We're going to take about 80 girls this year. We capped at 80. Even though the hangar doors are going to be open, we just thought it'd be kind of safer. We usually aim for 100, 150 girls, but we decided to cap it this year just to be safe and just to make everybody.
So that's that exploration of flight. At Centennial.
At Centennial, yeah.
Great.
So great day for young girls. And John Berry, I'd like to give a shout out to him and Keith Palmer and thank them for hosting us. Women in Aviation has, like I said, their scholarship meeting, Girls in Aviation Day, and quite a few events. Our conference annually is in March. That's going to be in Nashville, Tennessee. So maybe you guys can go. You ladies can go. Yes.
Nashville.
Yeah,
That sounds
Nashville.
like too fun of a place to
Get
go.
your boots. You know where my boots in Colorado. And that concludes my report.
great report. And I hope a lot of students see and have heard that there's those great opportunities. It's awesome. Well, that's the scholarship, so that's great. Nice update. Chick?
I just want to steal a little bit of her thunder because they did pre-flight camp last month, and again, it was went over the Rockies at Centennial. 6 days of intense mentorship and teaching and actual flying by the young ladies that were able to attend. And it was extraordinarily well done. It was first class.
And to clarify, the girls are ages 11 to 14. So great age to get the girls into it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good. My daughter was 2 months shy of getting in, but next year.
Next year.
There you go.
Next year. And my granddaughter did get to go, and she just high as a kite. Just,
Yeah, I bet.
and has actually logged 2.1 hours in her logbook already
Yeah.
at age 12.
That's great.
And some of it's mountain flying.
And it was
Yeah.
mountain flying up to Leadville. She got the certificate from Leadville, you know, the whole bit.
Yeah,
And it was in a D840 owned by a friend of mine, but she was in the left seat, he was in the right seat, and it was a great flight.
oh, that's great.
Yeah. And Colorado Springs Airport now has 3 operational runways.
All right.
We finished up the
Finished it up, huh?
rebuild of the west one ramp, and it is now open.
Oh, that's great. Congratulations.
That's all I've got.
To Springs. Well, good. I only have just a couple of minor updates. I will say that it's very clear, even all the way to DIA, as far as all the commercial traffic. It's the employments are just rebounding. Everybody that I've talked to are at or at least at the same levels they were as far as employments. Denver, I know, is still a little bit behind, but it's pretty remarkable how the state is bouncing back. Business, general aviation, as I always say, is always rescues. Of course, I'm a little bit biased, but it certainly is our bread and butter at Telluride Regional Airport. But business is fantastic. I mean, we're exceeding even last year's numbers, which were even better and greater than 2019 numbers. So when you look at our fuel volumes and our operations, general aviation is very strong. Our one little airline that's flying in, which is Denver Air Connection, Key Lime Denver Air Connection in their Dornier jet. They are doing a flight a day, didn't do any shoulder seasons, and we just announced that starting in December, we're going to have a second destination nonstop from Phoenix. So we're going to do Phoenix to Telluride and Denver to Telluride. So we'll have 2 flights a day over the winter time, and maybe 2022 is going to be our year to reach that magical 10,000 employments. So we're excited about that. But business is very good. Every airport is managing their volumes, and I think there's a lot of optimism out there in spite of what's currently happening. So that's all I have. So great updates, everyone. So let's go to the next one, our public comments. Anybody from the public that's here? There's one person or anyone online like to say anything?
I don't think anybody has chimed in
Nobody?
on the message app there, so
Okay,
once, twice.
all right. Moving on. Director's report.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. There was no written director's report this month because between yesterday's workshop and today's meeting, we covered just about everything. But just for anybody else that's out there, a couple things coming up. We're getting to update our aeronautical chart and our directory this year. We do the chart every other year and the directory every year. And so we'll be working on that. So we'll encourage the airports to work closely with their planners, make sure our info is current. We'll get going on those next year. So thanks, Sean and the team, for putting that together. That's pretty good. That's really about all I have. The pre-flight camp you spoke about, both of you, Trippy and Chip, we're looking forward. They'll be on later in the agenda to give us an update on our program. So we're looking forward to hearing from that. That was pretty cool. So that's great. That's it for sure.
Okay. Well, let's get a little bit of a financial update there, Bryce.
Sure.
Go through your dashboard.
Like we talked about yesterday there, financial reports today are going to be basically the final look back at FY21 fiscal year due to the state's counting software and stuff. July numbers out are in flux. We'll call it like that. So as we look back to FY21, first slide that you have in front of you, again, was our revenue update. So for fiscal year 21, June's revenue came in at around 2 million. Total revenue for the year was 17 million, which was bang on our revenue forecast we had set at the end of Q3. Again, that was 99.9% of what we forecast, the 2 million, pretty much bang on. Year over year, 636% increase. As we know, that was the height of the pandemic there, when nobody was flying. And revenue was up, it was 102.5% of base revenue. When we look back to 2019 numbers, that was about 80% of the 2.6 million in June of 2019. Next slide. Our cash balance finished the year at a healthy, a little over $11 million cash balance. Of note, over the course of the fiscal year, our cash balance actually increased within shy of 600,000. Again, the biggest driver on that is we scaled back the grant program, as well as the FAA matching 100% of federal projects. So amazing that it actually increased over the course of the COVID year with revenues down, but a lot of that is just the amount of grants that are out there, the breakdown of that. So tax disbursements by month, we have 1.16 million in tax disbursements in June. Over $1 million of that was sales tax, about 117,000 was abject excise, and 10,000 of avgas. Nothing out of the ordinary. Continue to follow the monthly cycle of revenues in, disbursements out. So nothing out of the ordinary on that one. The contingency analysis, and I know we discussed this a bit yesterday as far as the current year's contingency analysis. As we finished last year, though, you can continue to see that we had a good amount of cash balance on hand for the grant program that is projected. That yellow line there obviously shows the ramp up in our program that we have recommended, that we will be at $8 million this year. Last year's program, like I said, it came in a little bit under $3 million. So we see that ramping up. The good thing is we've got the cash balance on hand to justify that, and the revenue's coming in. So looks good on that. Admin expenses. Again, this is the last fiscal year that we reported all salaries in the division underneath the administration cost center, as we went over yesterday. So we did finish the year a little over $1 million in admin expenses. The cap for FY20 21 was 1.32 million. So we came in about 3.94% of that 5% admin budget. So well within range there. My favorite slide, Denver International Fuel Flow. You can see our yellow line there is trending back up. Like I mentioned yesterday, from a forecasting perspective, we're still using 75% of 2019 numbers. We are seeing that jump up considerably though. But flowage at Denver in June was 36.2 million gallons. That was up 125% from May's 29.1 million, up 262% of June 2020, which again, COVID, but the apples to apples is more than 80% of June 2019 numbers. As we talked about yesterday, July's fuel flow numbers, they came in at about 86%, and August's are forecasted 94%. So we should be seeing that yellow line joining those nice blue ones there at the top here on the next board meeting report. Anyways, they should be right up there. Yearly data for fiscal year 2021, the flow in Denver was 285 million gallons. That was 72% of the 394 gallons during FY20, and 59% of the 485 in FY19. Again, the big impact of that is just COVID, obviously, but we're getting back a lot quicker. They don't sound as normal as they do calendar year over year, just because of the difference in our fiscal years, which is July to June. But just fiscal year, you can see that drop for sure. Our final slide is just our monthly division expenditure breakdown. As you can see for June, a lot closer to even than it typically is, where tax disbursements, obviously, are usually our biggest one. They were at 1.16 million. But we have a lot of grant drawdowns, which is normal in June as we're pushing airports to get projects closed off, get their information in, and get our accruals in as well. So we have $966,000 worth of grant disbursements in June. And that was all work obviously done in the prior fiscal year. So a little more of an even spread on this than normal, but that's always expected in June. So nothing out of the ordinary. That's all I had for the dashboards. Happy to answer any questions or concerns.
I think another big one is the increase. I thought I'd never be excited to see the barrel price of oil go up, but that's what's helping too with the recovery.
Yeah, it's been
Compared to
hovering
last
around
year.
65 to 75 for a couple months now. So that's
Den's coming through for us. That's great.
yeah, pick it back
So
up.
it's train keep working.
Yeah. Keep up the good work, George. Okay. Any questions?
Just one point, we've said it an awful lot yesterday, we're kind of getting tired of giving you guys compliments, but just since we're in a formal meeting, it's worth saying to come through last year. The last year's financials be a bump in the road and not a disaster is really kudos to you all and the team and David. So thanks a lot.
Well said. Well said. Good. Okay. Next item is our 2021 division strategic plan and approval.
What's that?
That's deck slides for this.
Oh, you have those?
They're in there, yeah. So
Or do you want to? Okay, so thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate that. We'll skip through some of these slides. As the board received a great briefing on yesterday from Aviation Management Consulting Group. We've been in the midst of a process over the last several months to update our 2018 strategic plan with a new path going forward. It kind of charts out the next 2 to 3 years of the things that that we are all going to work on together, consistent with what the expectations are of our stakeholders, the board, and our staff. So Jen, you go to the next one. I'm going to kind of move through this pretty quickly since we covered this at length yesterday. But this were the steps that we went through to put that together. We did involve a great group of folks to help us craft the goals and objectives. You'll see here in a little bit. We had the Colorado Pilots Association was represented, the FAA, Colorado Aviation Business Association. We had CAOA, Dave Rupel from right here at the Secure and Space Board did a great job of representing CAOA on that group. So we had a great process to update that. Sean, you can keep moving through there, So stay right there. So the one thing that there was a little bit of an update to was our mission and vision statement to sort of align the terminology we use with things like our state aviation system plan and our aviation economic impact study. We swapped the phrase air and space system for aviation system. And I think in the conversations that the planning committee had over that very minor change to those, is that aviation is all encompassing. That includes aircraft, it includes helicopters, it includes UAS, it includes space. It's all part of that here. So that again, I think makes everything consistent in all of the terminology we use in the division. So there was one very minor change with that term in both the mission and the vision statement. We ended up with, I think when we started, and I'm looking around the staff that was involved, that we have a lot of things everybody was really excited about doing. Of course, can't do it all, so we had to narrow it down and sort of prioritize. But we ended up with, Sean, if you go back just one, we ended up with 4 new goals with several objectives underneath. And I won't go through these one by one. This is all on our website. It will be as soon as we're done. Action items today, but goal 1 was to really engage with industry to support and facilitate emerging technologies. We've got a lot of cool things coming down the pike, as Mark talked about in his remarks: electrically powered aircraft, hydrogen powered aircraft, sustainable aviation fuel. And I think our stakeholders and us and our board are really excited about us continuing to lead the way across the country in moving forward with the next step of aviation. There's a lot of cool things coming down the road, and we have the ability to show the way. I think the one I will point out here, objective 1.2, is that effort will really help our division do a better job with the broader state efforts to mitigate greenhouse gas emissions, make transportation cleaner, more accessible, lower cost, and really be in line with the governor's priorities on all of that, as well as our other transportation peers across the state. So you will see, I think, a lot of effort on that particular one from us over the next 3 years. The next one, too, was to continue to expand our outreach, education, and advocacy program to make sure we're engaged with our stakeholders and our industry partners. One of these, I will point out, an objective, it's a carry forward from the 2018 plan that we did not really do anything with back then. was to develop and host a regular Colorado Aviation conference. I think I'm looking at Tribby and the airport operators. What happens every couple of years, we host a conference across the whole state where we get the airport operators, the pilots, and the business aviation folks, and the FAA all together to do one broad conference. Montana does one, North Dakota does one. They're very, very successful. We'd like to see them doing that. I think that would be a really cool thing here in Colorado. We also carry forward some professional development goals and objectives, both for our team, and we also added in the board to make sure that all of us are up to speed and well-trained, and we have opportunities to continue to grow, both for their own personal benefit and for the benefit of the division. So 3 objectives under that. And then the last one, again, we're always looking for new opportunities to do improved statewide initiative that helps sustain our entire system. And we've got a lot of great statewide initiatives now. Our surplus program, Mountain AWAS program, our pavement maintenance, all of those are examples of the statewide initiatives. And I think we've got some other new ideas to do even more things along those lines with aircraft rescue and firefighting, aviation weather cameras, which we're going to talk about a little bit here, and some opportunities to also provide some redundant department opportunities for the CAB to help us sort of pursue maybe some additional funding sources to allow us to do some of these cool things. As governor appointees on the board, you all have a lot of latitude to do things like that. We'd like to leverage that. So that was really about it. So our next step, if you all adopt our new 2021 plan today, is we will put action plans to each one of those objectives, and we will map out internally who's going to take the lead on those and sort of our task list for how to make those happen, what we're going to do, and timing it, what ones we're going to work on. We can't do them all at once, obviously, but we've got a lot of talented folks on our team that, just like last time, we'll each be assigned some of these to kind of champion. We'll report back to you as we have for the last 3 years, every 6 months on that progress at both the CAO meetings when we like to do that, so our stakeholders know too. But that's it. I'm sorry to ramble a little bit, but that's the strategic plan, the discussion yesterday in a nutshell. So our request to you all as the board is a formal motion to adopt the draft 2021 strategic plan.
Move that we adopt the 2021 strategic plan.
Excellent. Second. Okay. Discussion. We did spend a lot of time on this yesterday, and great work by AMCG as well as the staff and the committee, and it was an honor to be a part of that committee. So,
and I would like to give AMCG a shout out. Their facilitation
they did a
skills were
great
really
job.
outstanding. It's not something we would have the capacity to do in-house, and it was a very good value relative to what we paid for that service. So thank you to Jeff and his team. Caitlin Cooper was also there.
what I was thinking is that AMCG wouldn't like this, but they should get paid on the number of goals that we establish. So since we only did 4.
That's a new business model.
No, I think that's what's great is the best part is that it was quite a process, but they really I think it was great that we just narrowed it down to 4 achievable goals. So I think that's great. So anybody else have anything they'd like to add? If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? I didn't hear any. So with that, we got ourselves a plan, strategic plan. So moving on to the next item, Mr. Story on the division programs and procedures manual update.
Thank you,
There is
Mr.
an
Chair.
action on that.
So every year at the August meeting, we review our programs and procedures manual just to make sure no programs or procedures or policies need updated throughout the year that we may have missed. We do traditionally update it when the board changes a policy, but this is our time to double check everything. And this year there was nothing merit that was updated as far as programs go, but other than routine images, links, references were updated. So the staff recommendation would be a motion to approve the updated version 2021A. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, look for a motion to approve the procedures.
So moved.
All right. Mr. Hamilton, approve, second?
Second.
Chick. Discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
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 Oppose? Okay, we got ourselves a update. There you go, Scott. Number 10, let's do the AWAS camera phase 3.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, relative to yesterday's discussion at the strategic, at the workshop about the AWAS cameras phase 3. Again, just as a summary for those out there, over the last 2 years, we've had a fantastic collaboration with the FAA's Alaska Weather Camera Program. And through a reimbursable arrangement using our funding and their expertise and manpower, they have come down and installed, right now, we have 23 aviation weather camera sites in Colorado, 13 on our division-owned mountain AWAS units, and 10 that we put in earlier this year at airports across Colorado, including Aspen, which you see up there on the screen now. I just love tooting our horn. When we did that 2 years ago, we were the first state outside of Alaska to have those cameras. We're getting emulated, and I know that imitation is always the sincerest form of flattery. So we're excited that our counterparts in Hawaii and Montana have also now begun installing cameras as well. But I think to capitalize on our existing relationship with FAA and to try to get in ahead of what is certain to be a cascade of other states wanting to do this as well with this small team, we are requesting a $400,000 budget adjustment to the FY21 budget to continue this effort next year in calendar year 2022 with the installation of 20 additional camera sites and a list of airports that we will develop and bring back to you again as we work with airports and talk with the pilot community about where they'd like to see those and get some input on that. So that would be the request in front of all of you today. Happy to answer any more questions that maybe you missed yesterday at the workshop.
We vetted this pretty well yesterday. So looking for a motion to approve phase 3 for the AWAS cameras.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
okay. Discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, we got our phase 3. And this is great too. I think one thing that we did talk about yesterday is because they are becoming so popular, and it is a ace crew that they do from Alaska that's installing this, is that we want to get in before they get really overwhelmed and have to expand their crews and whatnot. So take advantage of that. I'm sure that they're not complaining about going to Hawaii.
No.
I know those guys. But,
No.
I'm sure they're all over that.
They
But
love coming here.
yeah.
They get to go to some pretty cool places.
Yeah,
See what
yeah.
they got.
So this is great. Nice work.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go to the next item. This is another action item, reprogram alternatively powered aircraft infrastructure study that was removed last year. And Dave, you're ready to bring it back.
I am, Mr. Chair. Thank you again. Just as a recap, back in late 2019, we had floated the idea with the board of doing a study here in Colorado about what role the division could play in supporting the next generation of alternatively powered aircraft. I'll say now, because it's more than just electricity, it's sustainable aviation fuel, it's potentially hydrogen fuel cells. And it was really exciting yesterday at the workshop to hear Mark talk a little bit about the cool things that companies like Magnax, Aviation, and aerospace are doing in the space. It's not a matter of if, it's when. I think to quote you yesterday, and we would love to be a part of that here in Colorado, as I mentioned during my report. But the study would take a look at some of the infrastructure needs at the airport, some of the policy things behind those. We would take a look at what potential routes might these aircraft be deployed on, and what airports might we start wanting to think about looking at this infrastructure, what those needs are. And again, along those same lines, looking at ways that our division might partner with others to incentivize the production and availability of sustainable aviation fuel across Colorado. That certainly, I think, as we all agree, is going to be the power source for the narrow body and larger size commercial air carriers, at least for the foreseeable years. But right now, there's none of that capacity anywhere really close to Colorado, as we heard a couple months ago at our last board meeting. And I think the governor's office and many others are interested in finding a way to do that here in Colorado for, again, contributing to our part of making transportation cleaner and more efficient. So all of that would be rolled into this study. Our plan would be to partner with some other entities like the National Renewable Energy Lab right here in Golden is doing some really cool things with airport electrification. NASA's Advanced Research Mission Directorate in Langley, back east in Virginia, is doing some really cool things, including some modeling on air carrier routes using, simulated aircraft like the Aviation aircraft. We would like to maybe develop some relationship with those folks and see how they might be able to help us and do that. So our plan, Mr. Chair, again, as we talked about yesterday with this $200,000, is we would sort of reframe that scope of work a little bit over the next couple of months, come back to you all in October with an idea of what that might look like exactly, get some feedback, and then go figure out a way to procure it, whether that's another reimbursable with another NGO like NASA, or whether that's something with like a private consultant, similar to what we did with our system plan. So that would be our plan with this. We're asking for the same $200,000 we had programmed last fiscal year. Again, we had shelved when the revenues took a hit.
Do you feel comfortable with that number?
I do. I think so. That will give us a high level. The one thing that has really transpired and benefited this delay was there's a new ACRP report coming out here in a couple of months on electric aircraft. And then again, the NASA work and the NREL work, I think, is going to allow us to do more for the same amount of money. So that was the one upside. All that's happened in the last 14 months. If it's not, if we, and again, I will say though, I'm always, you never know, but I really don't want to spend a lot of money on this. We're still very conservative with our expenses, but if we do see an opportunity to maybe add some scope to it, we might come back to you for a request.
Right.
I would say for those out there listening, part of these programs are being adjusted. We originally had $250,000 budgeted for this current fiscal year that you all approved back in January for our surplus equipment sale. That usually involves Denver International. They advised us that this year they're not going to be disposing of any used equipment. So that $250,000 will be sort of freed up in our budget for these other things, making it less of a net increase.
Okay. Any questions? Okay, with that, how about a motion to approve an infrastructure study? Second? Second. Discussion?
Just one comment. Not only is this activity really relevant to our constituents in the community across the state, it kind of falls in the same category, I think, as the cameras, AWAS cameras, and demonstrating the leadership that the state has across the nation for those things, again, that are really relevant to the industry. So
Well said. I agree. I think the best part about this, when you have new technology like this, we're positioning ourselves to be, I think the worst is to be reactive, and so we can get out ahead of this and really be strategic about this. So, well, good. Anybody else? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone say no? Okay, we got our study. Let's do it. Next item is the CAB meeting calendar approval. Is that a formal action?
It is for next year. That was,
Oh, okay.
Sure. Doesn't mean you can't change it later, but this is typically the time of the year we do it.
Okay.
Be proactive to work for.
Very good. So I think we did talk about this yesterday.
I don't know why none of the dates are shown on the slide. Do you have all the dates in your packet
Yeah.
that were proposed?
I don't know, Chaz might have any questions, but again, this is just kind of the framework for next year. We did talk about potentially one of those meetings, doing a road show, going to another airport, being flexible for maybe somebody opening up a new runway or some big project that the state got to partner with an airport or community. So certainly Grand Junction, we'll all be going to Grand Junction for the CAOA conference in June. But possibly in the fall, we might take a road show in October or something like that. So anybody have any comments or concerns?
Yeah, and just please note that this grayed out areas are not the board meetings.
Right.
Yeah, for some reason they're not. So
Right.
I've seen that happen up layers before.
Yeah.
You all know they're typically.
There was a
the
good
same
slide
Wednesday.
yesterday that really outlined this. So with that, looking for a motion to approve the 2022 CAB meeting schedule.
so moved.
Second? Chick, and discussion? All those in favor signify saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we got ourselves a schedule for next year. Next item is industry update. Is Morgan Pre-Flight Aviation Camp?
Morgan, we'll go ahead and let you share up your screen now. If you want to go ahead and do that now.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, just by matter of introduction, while that's happening.
Yeah.
again, this was a great program that I had never heard of until Chick and Trimby introduced me to it here a couple of months ago. And unfortunately, we're not able to have this group participate in our NASAO conference because that program had already been filled up. But we thought it would be a great opportunity to hear about a really cool program that's happening right here in Colorado, especially as the division looks ahead to helping maybe restore funding for cool programs like this, which we've done historically.
Excellent.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks for the invite. I always look forward to talking about pre-flight any chance I get. Just to confirm, can you guys hear me loud and clear?
Very clear.
Okay, good. Yeah. And feel free to stop me at any point with any questions. So as Mr. Lane said, I'm Morgan Mitchell. I'm the president of Pre-Flight Aviation Camp. Pre-Flight is a nonprofit 501c3 summer camp for preteen girls ages 11 through 14. And we use aviation as a means to transform their beliefs about gender roles, build their self-esteem, and inspire them to become pilots.
Hang on, Morgan. I think, are we sharing a screen with you? We're working on that, I think.
Yeah.
I am sharing my screen.
All right, stand by. We're not up yet.
Okay.
Lots of clicks going on.
Yeah.
There she is.
There we go. Now we see you.
Okay.
Okay, proceed.
All right. So this is me. I attended undergraduate pilot training for the Air Force in 2012. At the time, 3% of Air Force pilots were women. I was also one of the very few male or female that attended pilot training while married and with a 3-year-old child at home.
Wow.
So this put a lot of pressure on me, just because I didn't have a mentor. I didn't have a lot of role models to look to. Just the feeling that I was representing all women in my career field. So that was really a lot of pressure on me. And unfortunately, I encountered some personal family problems, and that was just enough to knock me off track without that support. So unfortunately, I washed out of pilot training 1 month before graduating T-38s. I was number 3 in my class. I had over 100 hours in the T-6 and over 50 hours in the T-38. And I just felt like I was a failure. I really wanted to be assigned, an F-22. That was my dream. And I was so close to getting that dream. But I really think that a mentor in someone's life can really make all the difference. And it seems like something simple. And that's why Pre-Flight Aviation Camp isn't only here to encourage more girls to go into aviation. We're also here to support them as they do that, and then providing them with resources and mentors. So let's see if this works right here. The underrepresentation of women in aviation isn't just in the military. As you know, it's in all of aviation. So out of the total certificated pilots in the United States, only 8.4% are women. I guess the good news story is that like 2 years ago, that was only 6.6%. So we've gone up, yay, but not very much. And that isn't really the only problem. There's also an overall shortage of pilots, even as we come out of the pandemic. So women comprise 48% of the workforce, but only 24% in STEM fields. And women in other career fields even outpaced aviation. For example, 16% of engineers are women. So why is aviation having such a hard time attracting and retaining women? All right, so a 2017 Boeing study predicted that we would have a shortage of 112,000 commercial pilots over the next 20 years. Probably, as you guys are all aware, even as we come out of the pandemic and recover, that's still going to be there. We may have let go a lot of pilots in the last year or two, but they're quickly hiring them back. And we can't depend on only half of the population to fill that void. The entire population needs to believe it's an attainable goal, and not to mention many young women want to attain this goal. And at some point during middle school or high school, they're kind of talked out of it, or they just don't think it's an attainable goal. So this is our inaugural camp in 2016. We were founded in 2015. We were originally in San Marcos, Texas, and since then we've held 5 camps total with 22 campers as our biggest camp yet. We started out as a 6-day overnight camp, but the pandemic forced us to flex to a day camp. And we actually ended up really liking that format. And it possibly gives us a better ability to expand just because a day camp is much easier to run and to organize. At Pre-Flight, we use STEM-based hands-on aviation activities to introduce girls to aerodynamics, airplane components, communication, navigation, and weight and balance. 100% of campers strongly agreed that they learned aviation concepts they can apply to other areas of their life, and that the subjects in class were interesting and new, and that the material was engaging and fun. So it's kind of like a really basic ground school, just introducing them to aviation. It's not just about aviation though. What sets us apart is our focused approach to relate each aviation topic we teach back to broader life lessons. So after each aviation lesson, we usually have a discussion about how we can relate those concepts back to our personal lives. Because the goal is not to make every girl into a pilot. The goal is to introduce them to aviation and give them the skills if they do want to go into aviation. But it's also just to give them general life skills and confidence to do whatever they want. So this was our first year in Colorado. We've gotten a very warm welcome. We held our 6-day day camp out of Colorado Skies Academy. We had our discovery flights at the end of camp going out of the Exploration of Flight Museum. And they spent the day there doing all the cool things that they have to do there. Aspen Flying Club provided the CFIs for the flights. And we were also able to get an inside look at the Air Force Academy, which we were very lucky to have because I guess they closed a lot of tours due to the pandemic. So we were really lucky. They also, at the Air Force Academy, they got to watch and sit in a lot of the gliders, and that was really cool to see. All right. So we also run a post-camp mentorship program. So after camp, every girl is matched up with a mentor. Usually we try to match them up based on interest. So if somebody has expressed interest that they do want to go to the Air Force Academy or go into military flying, we try to match them up with a military pilot. If they're interested in commercial flying, we match them up with a commercial pilot. Et cetera, et cetera. It's a 3-month mentorship program where they meet virtually or in person if available, just to talk about goals. Some of the younger campers just want to talk about basic life goals or maybe just problems they're encountering. And some of the older campers can ask questions about scholarships and starting flight training. We also provide flight training scholarships. So last year we provided 2 flight training scholarships of $2,700 each. Atha Z is on the bottom right, and she just started flight training using her scholarship. Shannon is on the left. She's our other scholarship winner. And Shannon and Nia, who's at the top right, they both applied to and were accepted to the Air Force's AIM High Flight Academy. Which is another really awesome program. It's 3 weeks where they get flight training and all kinds of like ground school, and it's a really cool opportunity run by the Air Force. Another neat thing that we did this year was we were able to get a lot of high profile support from women aviators. So at the Air Force Academy, we met with Colonel Beth Macros. She was the 5th woman to pilot the B-2 Spirit. She's my hero now. Like I want to be her when I grow up. She's really cool. Colonel Kim Campbell also provided a personalized message to the campers. She couldn't be there in person, but she provided a recorded message for them. She is, maybe you've heard of her, she's the A-10 pilot that took fire over Baghdad, and she landed it safely, I think in like reverse gear. She's like the only person to do that. And it had pretty huge holes in the fuselage on landing. Colonel Samantha Weeks came to graduation, and she was the first female solo Thunderbird pilot. And I think Colonel Campbell and Colonel Weeks are now retired officially recently. So this is us. Our board of directors consists of me. Kristen Franke is a C-17 reserve pilot, and she also works for Delta. Nancy is also a Delta pilot. And Liz Green is our founder. She was a KC-10 pilot, and now she's a pilot for Hawaiian Airlines.
Wow.
So all of our counselors are CFIs, commercial pilots, military pilots, kind of all across the board. We try to attract women from all different sides of aviation just to give the campers those mentors and for them to see that you can do a lot of different things with aviation. So we started in Texas and we went to Colorado, but we want to be all over the United States. So our plan for the next 5 to 10 years is to expand. We haven't decided if we want to expand to multiple locations first or multiple sessions first. We're still pretty small, so we're trying to grow. If we had multiple sessions, it would be like a phase 1, phase 2. So we have a lot of campers that want to come back the next year. And right now we only have one program to offer. So if they came back, they would be doing the same thing again. And I don't think they would be unhappy about that, but we would like to offer them something more, especially as they get older. We'd like to offer more intense ground school, more flight training, kind of like if you know anything about undergraduate pilot training with Air Force, first you start with ground training and then you go to the T6 and then you go to like your T38 or T1. So it's kind of like a phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. So if they want to keep coming back, we're going to keep giving them training and mentors until they're ready to fly away. So we need your support. We need everybody's support. We're new to Colorado. We've gotten a really warm welcome. We love the resources that we found in Colorado. We're planning next year to possibly do a visit to the United Flight Training Facility. So there's all kinds of cool opportunities there. But we need connections, to local businesses, or national businesses that are willing to provide grants, sponsorships. Like I said, we really want to expand. We are one of a kind. So there are other aviation youth programs, such as like Young Eagles, but we are the only one that focuses on women. And yeah, so we really have a good opportunity there to, I think, serve an underserved community. I think if there's anything else I wanted to say that I've forgotten, because I do have a little video at the end so that you don't just have to hear me talk. If it'll work, I might have to close.
They look like they're having fun.
Yeah.
Let's see. I think it's not liking it while sharing. Can you hear it?
Not yet.
It's loading.
Okay.
Let's go. Let's see.
There we go.
Can't hear anything. Is there somewhere I could go and well,
There it is.
Yeah, if you, I know I was afraid of this. If you go to preflightcamp.com, it's just one of the very first videos on there. I can stop screen sharing.
Pre-flight. Pre-flight. Oh, yeah.
Preflightcamp.com.
I can share my screen.
Well, while he's looking for us, Morgan, I think you were sold as an organization, and I think you could definitely count on the state of Colorado Division of Aeronautics as a help champion your organization and support you. We have a very diverse board. that are certainly, I'll volunteer our board's expertise and connections to help you. And really, two board members, Chick and Trimby, brought this your organization to our attention. So we really appreciate, and we really want to support. This is a great setup. You've done well.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, we're very passionate about what we do, and we're
Yes.
all volunteers. We're not getting paid for this. I mean, we would like to eventually get paid for this, just so that we can run it better
Right.
and more efficiently. But right now, we're all volunteers. This is our second job, so we're very passionate about it.
Morgan, when Nancy told me that you guys were coming to Colorado, she told me at the Women in Aviation Conference that you were coming to Colorado. It was very exciting. We tried to get you guys dorms at CU.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Our board members is the CU Aeronautics, and we had our Girls in Aviation Day there 2 years ago, Dave. And it was great. We tried to get you guys some dorms so that the girls could have overnight camp. And it just didn't work out with COVID for that to happen. But maybe next year we can work with you on that and maybe get some flights out of Boulder instead with Christina Montgomery.
Yeah, Christina's
Might I
great. She's
suggest
the one.
too that you guys, if you guys could get a breakout session at the Women in Aviation Conference in Nashville, I would suggest that you contact some of the board on Women in Aviation International, and I can for sure help you do that. But if you can get a breakout session and get some of the girls to maybe fly in and do a big group pre-flight camp at Women in Aviation, be a great way. Because if you can take the Texas girls and the Colorado girls, and as you branch out, get them all coming into the conference every year, that'd be a great breakout session. Because Women in Aviation International has one day at conference that's just devoted for girls. And it brings in girls locally, whether it's Long Beach or Reno or, wherever they
Yeah.
are.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be great.
Yeah, so I would love your help with that, because so far we've been successful in contacting local WAI chapters, but in terms of working with the international organization, it's been a little harder to break through and kind of get their attention and support.
And I'm glad that you had a good time with Christine Wanner at Aspen Flying Club for the
Yes.
of the camp.
Yeah, and they donated their CFI time.
Well, pleasure to meet you officially.
Chip?
Yeah, you too, ma'am. Thank you.
Morgan, if you could expand on the mentorship program that is kicking off now with this year's class, because I think that is very powerful.
Yeah, so like I said, it's 3 months. They're only required to meet for 3 months, once a month. So it doesn't seem like very much, but most of them do extend that time, and they do choose to meet more than once a month. And a lot of our mentees are still mentees of some of our volunteers, years later. So like Athazi, the one that's starting flight training using our flight training scholarship, she still talks to her mentor, along with a couple other ladies. So it's just a good chance to kind of demystify the process if they do want to become a pilot. Just the fact that you can walk into an FBO and start flight lessons. Not a lot of people know that. Not a lot of people know how to find scholarships after they realize how expensive it is. So it's just to be there to support them and have somebody that's not their parents to talk to, not to mention somebody that's in the career field that maybe they're interested in.
Genius.
I do have that video pulled up if you.
We'll go ahead and play that video now.
Yeah, go. It's a good video. It's, my little pitch.
Here we go.
Pre-flight aviation camp is important because there's an overall shortage of pilots and there's a very low rate of professional female pilots. Currently, there's about 7% of pilots who are women, and when we look at airline pilots, about 4% are women. So it's time that we do more to reach the other half of the population. And research shows that if a young girl identifies with a role model, she's more likely to work towards similar achievements. Pre-flight is an overnight summer camp for girls in middle school that uses aviation to build girls' self-esteem, empower them to reach their goals, and inspire the next generation of pilots.
After I decided that I wanted to be a pilot, Pre-Flight was able to give me a contact, Nancy, and she's my mentor, and we talk every single month. She's there like telling me, this is what would look good on your resume. These are all the different paths that you can take. This is the path that I took. And she's just there to help me through the process of actually becoming a pilot.
The value of having all the counselors as female pilots is that we are setting the example for the girls. They can see us in our uniforms, they can see us teaching the classes, explaining the concepts, and then going on flights with them. So then they can put themselves in our shoes.
To see like women in aviation that were pilots in the Air Force and commercial, and like really motivated me more, like to follow my career.
It helped me change my image of what I see when I think pilot. So now when I think pilot, I see like a woman, like Liz, for example.
There's nothing out there like it for young girls who want to get into aviation. The fact that this is run by all women who have been there and they know what it's like for a woman to get into the field, that's priceless.
I certainly think every girl would benefit from this particular camp. Even beyond flying, pre-flight, teaches them how to be organized, how to be more focused, and how to go after something they want to be.
Over the years, we've had the opportunity to partner with some great organizations. And through donations, we've been able to cover 85% of camp costs and provide 67% of girls with full camp scholarships.
It's literally the best experience I've ever had. And it was literally so uplifting to know I can actually become a pilot and like travel and do anything I need to like pursue my dream.
Now that I've been in pre-flight, now I know like no matter what people say, I could do whatever I want.
It really is truly a once-in-a-lifetime experience that you have to really get into an industry that there aren't a lot of women in, and that it's kind of hard to do. So it's really good to start early, or just even try and see if that's what you want to do.
Pre-Flight Aviation Camp is an investment in the next generation of aviators. With your support, we can begin to help solve the pilot shortage and diversify the future of aviation. Visit our website to donate today.
Yay, thank you.
Morgan, this is Dave Elaine. We haven't met. Nice to see you. I'm the aeronautics director here. I will say I would love to keep in touch. Our division does have an education grant program that unfortunately right now is not funded because our revenues were so decreased from COVID, but I do suspect that next year we will look at putting some funds back into that program. I'd love to keep in touch.
Yeah, thank you. We'll definitely be in touch. Yeah, and not just, I'm not just here to raise money, just to raise awareness. If you know young girls that would like to come to our camp, we're definitely going to be here next year, probably around the same time at the end of July. And then also volunteers. So we always need volunteers. We usually don't have a hard time finding people wanting to volunteer during camp as counselors. But like I said, this is all a second job for us. So it's a lot harder to find people that want to help us year round. So like I'm full-time active duty at the Pentagon, and this is my second job. So it's a lot to ask people to do stuff after their full-time job. So if you know anybody or want to just spread the word, recommend us, they can apply on our website and follow our Facebook page. We usually put the most updates out there. So thanks for your support. I'll definitely be in touch.
Excellent.
Two of the products that our division puts out, Morgan, we have a state here in Colorado, a state airport directory and a state aeronautical chart. We have lots of those, and we'd be happy to send you boxes of those materials to use in your program.
Oh yes, actually we would love those. We use those for training. Yes.
If you email me your address, we will send you all that you need at no cost.
Okay, yes, I will send you. We do have a business address in Colorado you can send it to.
You got it, cool.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, and sorry, one more thing. Mr. Myers was, he said that his granddaughter came to camp, but he did not mention that she won our Spirit of Pre-Flight Camp Award. She was our #1 camper. Stephanie was awesome. So hopefully she'll come back to us as a junior counselor.
Guaranteed.
Well, that's excellent. Well, thank you. Any other board members have questions or? Okay, well, thank you so much, Morgan. We sure appreciate your time, and You won us over. We're on board, okay?
Thank you. Have a good day.
All right, you too. Thank you.
Oh, great.
That was nice, yeah. Thanks for bringing that to us.
Yeah, never ceases to
Guys
amaze
did
me the
good.
things that are happening out
Yeah.
there. It's just incredible.
It's wonderful. Okay, well, Mr. Payne is not with us today, right? So
I can't really do a southern lilt, so you're just gonna.
you can't do it?
Yeah.
You can't do,
It's shorter, right?
just say, holy cow, we can get about wrap this up.
I do have my list of Bill Payne issues to refer to.
Yes, yes, yes.
You can play Bill Payne bingo.
The worst parts of the Bible, right? Okay.
Anyway, Bill sends his regrets, despite the fact we think that we are his only client. He does a lot of work, and today he is up at Haley, Idaho. He's helping the airport up there work out some issues with the control tower that they're looking to build up there. So he sends his regrets. You saw his report. Unfortunately, the day after the board packet went out, the FAA let us know that they were not going to be traveling out here to get phase one of the testing because they use the Harvard Medical School COVID dashboard, which is incredibly pessimistic relative to the Colorado State dashboard. So even though Larimer County, it's not that bad relative to everything else in Colorado, they use a different metric. Long story short, they're not traveling out. That said, they have agreed to allow some local controllers to still work through some of the aircraft scenarios here in the second week of September. That's where some of the Colorado Pilots Association's folks have volunteered to set up certain scenarios, distances, approaches, altitudes, to allow the controllers to try things in a different environment that's controlled. Somebody who's doesn't have a radio on, but does have a radio, but pretending like they don't, kind of thing. So the good news is that will happen. We are still continuing to really leverage the FAA hard to try to utilize local air traffic controllers who don't have as many travel restrictions as the folks back from DC. So that's really where we're at now. We're also still moving forward with the installation of the STARS radar data feed. The challenge that we have with that, and it's really badly needed, and it's a key part of our tower, is I know you haven't all been up to where the little mobile air traffic control towers, that's where they're running air traffic. It's basically an RV camper, double axle trailer with a tower in it. There's not the physical room in there for a screen for the radar because it's just not big enough without securing it for another user. So unfortunately, that's meant that on certain days, and we're seeing it at other airports with towers, they have to restrict the number of airplanes in pattern, they're restricting touch and goes, maybe limiting certain approaches. I know Tribute said you had that up there. So it seems to be going very well. The haze hasn't helped because it's a visual tower without the radar. That's true of all the airports in the state. Without a tower, you can't see all that great. So anyway, a lot of challenges. I wish I had some better news, but trust me, Bill and I are still prevailing upon FAA to move fast. There was some FAA folks out here right before the travel restriction doing some optimization of the system and doing a little bit more familiarization. So that was good. I'm hoping that this January, Bill and I can resume potentially with Chair Mantha, our annual trip to Washington, DC in late February. We would always go out there in conjunction with the AASHTO conference, American Association of State Transportation Officials. CDOT always goes out there. I tag along. CDOT would make the rounds with our congressional delegation on highway stuff. I would follow up or go first with airplane stuff. We would do it together, but separately. And at the same time, we would always, Bill's got great connections in the FAA. We've always been able to meet with the FAA administrator. And we weren't able to do that in January. Meet with Terry Bristol, the COO of air traffic, meet with our project team in DC. So we're optimistic that travel will allow us to do that again this spring and really impress upon people how important this is. You will likely see us start to more engage our congressional delegation on some of the feet dragging that's happening, I think, with FAA, maybe more some of our industry counterparts that have Administrator Dixon's ear. There is a little bit of reticence and lack of enthusiasm for remote air traffic control towers in the existing FAA administration. They're focused on other things. But Congress has directed the FAA to do stuff with remote towers back in the 2018 reauthorization bill. They were to undertake a pilot program. They're not really doing anything with that. And that was above and beyond our program, the one at Leesburg. So we may start banging drum here a little bit for us because this is dragged on now. We were 2 years into it when I got here 6 years ago. And we're not contributing any more money other than continuing to fund program management costs with Bill to keep our investment on track. But we need to get this going. And it's unfortunate COVID. We should be within a year of certification at COVID, not yet. So Anyway, we'll keep after it. That's it. Next time I'll have something to say that's finer than frog's hair.
Okay, there you go. Nice one.
Anyway, that's it.
Okay.
And again, I would love, I know we've tried a couple of times, it would be a good time, because there's not any of the testing going on, to try to set up a tour for anybody that would like to see the facility in person. We can do that together. If you want to do it individually, I'm up there a couple times a month, if not more, to meet with Jason and Bill, and look at things. So let me know, and I'd love to get you all too. Who has not seen remote facility?
I've used it.
Yeah, I've used it.
But I have not been
You've
inside it.
been up there, I think you've been in the facility, right? Okay, excellent. Okay, we'll work to get all of you to find the day. I know you're all busy, so.
Okay.
Excellent.
Yeah, I fly into that airport probably 3 times a week.
Okay.
Oftentimes I get pushed out.
Mm.
But I like it. They're there. It gets crazy. It's busy. They need it. Yeah, so.
I will tell you what's really cool. I was up there on a day where it was particularly smoky. You know, one of the cool things about the remote tower when you see it is because ours integrates radar data, when you're looking at that big video wall and you see on a clear day, the dot that is the airplane, it has a little data tag that goes with it, just like it would on the radar screen. It's got the N number, aircraft type, airspeed, altitude, and all that kind of stuff. What's really cool is when the day I was up there, you could not see the dot, but you could see the data tag. And that's the whole thing, that remote tower is supposed to be an enhancement over looking out with your eyes. And
Yeah.
so that's the really cool technology, that on a day when the visibility is 2 miles, like it's back east, you know, you can still actively run the pattern with the radar, looking at the data tag on the screen. So that part's pretty cool, and I'd love to have you all see that. That's just fascinating.
And it's always nice to see Jason LaCone up there too. So
It is, he's doing,
he's a great host. Yeah, he does. Great leadership. Okay, well, let's go to the legislative issues, the next item.
Mr. Chair, really nothing of note
Yeah.
here in the interim at the state level. Nothing of note. I think, as we all know, the infrastructure funding bill is still in congressional wrangling. That bill does include $25 billion for airport. I shared with you all of that information for things like terminals and things like that. So let me, George, if you have any inside baseball on any of that, I don't have any other than what you've read in all the trades that come out, but they're still dickering over all the details.
House approved the budget yesterday, so there's another step in the right direction to seeing that.
That's it. As we get closer to the start of the session in January, we'll keep you all apprised. And I do know that CIOA is still again planning to do their legislative conference the first Monday in January next year, like they always do down at the Brown Palace. And I think they're going to turn that into a one-day format, is what I've heard. That's the day we'll have our board meeting, and then that evening is the legislative reception where they'll work to bring all the legislators over. We can press the flesh and share with them our economic impact study information. Again, we didn't get to do that in person last year. We missed that opportunity. We've got brand new numbers to talk about. So we're keeping our fingers crossed that will happen. But I can tell you the CIOA has done an awesome job. I think in most years they've gotten 40 or 50 legislators to show up, and out of a house of 100, that's pretty good. And so it's really cool to see airports meet with their elected officials.
Yeah, and I mean, I know this seems like it's a never-ending what we're going through right now, but I think got to be optimistic that by January that, you know, people are going to be a little bit more out there and engaged. I think people are starving for it, so I think it's great. All right, let's look at the calendar for we got the next 2 meetings. We have a October 20 that you corrected us, the October 21st.
It'll be Thursday the 21st.
Thursday the 21st, not Wednesday.
Correct. With lunch at noon with the Transportation Commission, followed by our meeting at 1.
Okay. And then we'll have, do we have a date for the December meeting?
Apologies, that got deleted. That would be Wednesday, December 8th.
Okay.
The 8th missing.
All right.
Yeah, no big deal. Sorry about that.
That's fine. And then that'll be here. Okay.
Yeah, that will be here. Just one other thing on the calendar, not related to the board meeting. Again, the National Association of State Aviation Officials, we're holding our 90th annual convention at the Cheyenne Mountain Resort, September 11th to the 15th. In our association's 90-year history, it's the first time it's ever been in Colorado. We had an awesome program put together, and I got to give Caitlin especially, but our whole team, we're the host. You all approved $30,000 for us to support that conference a couple years ago when we put in the bid to get it. But the team here has just been awesome, putting together programs, making arrangements with the hotels, helping the airport work with us. Greg Phillips and Colorado Springs Airport, they've been great partners with ours, supporting transportation. And I think a lot of people will be flying directly in the spring. It's going to be cool. Cheyenne Mountain Resort's a great venue. We're doing.
I will be there.
You will be there. Kenny's coming for the cab chair. The SAO is the host state.
I get to be on a panel with a couple
panel
other.
with me moderating. So
That's the scary part.
Anyway,
This could be a disaster.
The thing I think we're most excited about is because we were planning this in the midst of COVID, all of our big events are outdoors, we're in huge facilities, and our big Tuesday night event, we're really excited, is at the National Museum of World War II Aviation. And we're really excited to have some pilots speak and have dinner and some presentations.
Few surprises too, right?
So,
yeah, great.
Very cool, and again, we appreciate, and I appreciate your support of my engagement with the sales. It's nice to be part of that. Our current chair is Bobby Walston. He's my counterpart in North Carolina. The new chair coming in September is Anthony McCloskey. He's my counterpart in Pennsylvania, and I'm up next year as chair. And my good buddy James Stevens, who is the most dapper looking aviation mechanic in a seersucker suit with a bow tie you ever saw, is the chair after myself. So it's really a great group, and it's really cool to interact with my peers from across the country.
Well, it's
So
great. And it's great that you're representing Colorado, Dave. That's great. Nice work. Okay, well, other matters, number 17, other matters by the public or members. Anybody like to pipe in?
A little easier than yesterday, huh, Commissioner?
Yes.
I don't think you got it.
Did you hear that? Yeah. Well, good. Nick?
I have just one addition. The under goal number 1, we talk about fuels. The sustainable aviation fuel, jet fuel, is a major issue. And we have an intern from the Colorado Springs Airport Advisory Commission who is serving in the Transportation Department with Secretary Buttigieg, Michelle Rule. You might remember, Dave, she was here one time as a visitor. She's an Air Force full colonel, pilot, flies C-130s. And she is providing a great deal of information to us, and I'm going to pass it along as much as I can on what is going on nationally with SAF, because it seems to be one of the most profound things that has developed, because it's more powerful. It's burns, enables an aircraft to fly faster or use less fuel, and the emissions are cleaner, and even contrails start to evaporate. So it's coming. And so your initiative to try to see if the governor can bring, a refinery online to give us the capability here in Colorado, I think is a natural. But Michelle is there and briefing us every week. And there's actually a board meeting this afternoon, and I'll be attending, and she will be on board by phone and give us an update on that. But this is a very powerful subject right now, nationally and also internationally, because of the number of European airlines that are now starting to use it and make demonstration flights and things like that. So SAF is a topic of big concern, and I think it'll be interesting to follow that as it develops.
The only thing I would say, Chick, is don't say issue. That scared me for a second. My heart sunk.
Well, I'm excited, Chick. After our meeting yesterday, I had a nice conversation with George about opportunities we might have to collaborate with some of the air carriers here in Colorado, and maybe them themselves. And we're going to look forward. This is a great part about having all this expertise. Look forward.
The air carriers are embracing this,
Yeah,
and
all
that's
of it.
exciting. Yeah.
So the interesting thing is that at San Francisco, where it is SAF.
Yeah.
But as the airlines buy them, I think a lot of people don't realize that it's not airplane specific, it's going into the fuel farm. And so right now, what Southwest is buying and United's buying and others, as it gets, it's a small percentage going on the airplane.
It is.
But that's the first step,
It is.
All those that are concerned about how do you manage that.
And I think as we increase manufacturing and branch off into hopefully several states embrace this, then the prices will go down. And so that we're on the right track, and I think it's exciting. It really really is.
And I'll tell you, we're excited at the Paseo, we're talking about it at the Paseo conference here in a couple of weeks. One of the panels we have is Powering the Future of Aviation. And it's got Scott Carey from Enrail. It's got Roy Gonzarski, who's the CEO of Aviation and AgNex, is on that panel, as is Chris Chivo, who is a gentleman that gave us the presentation on sustainable aviation fuel. And we had our meeting at Centennial. So we're looking forward to actually having that conversation at the national level too, of how Paseo can support those policies.
Right on.
Great. Anyone else? Seeing none, I think we can go ahead and call this adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for your hard work. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, everyone.
Almost.
This weekend.